Hello everyone, and welcome to the Commander's Forge. My name is Andy Bentley, and the Forge is an area for me to talk about magic, Commander, and anything else that kind of pops up that I want to talk about. Now, today I want to take a little peek behind the curtain and talk about some numbers. And I know that doesn't sound terribly exciting to anybody, but we're gonna anyway. And I want to start off by looking at my YouTube channel. So, in the time that I've been posting to the YouTube channel, I have a total of 576 total views, 37 subscribers, and public watch time around 70 hours. Now, to monetize the YouTube, I would need over 3,900 more public watch hours and 965 more subscribers. And that tells me that's probably not going to happen anytime soon, let alone even in the next couple of years. Because let's face it, I'm just not that interesting. But from YouTube, I then want to look at Anchor, because Anchor is where I release my content as well, and it gets distributed to all the podcast outlets out there. Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Breaker, all of those. There's way too many to count. Now, through them, they have an ad program where they'll match you with people, you make a short ad, you add it to your stuff. I've had one ad through them that was through Anchor itself, and I made a total of $50.75 off of it before it ended. Like, I can no longer collect any money from that, and I have not gotten one since. So I have not had any ad payouts since March 19th of 2021. Now, the other analytic I can really look at on Anchor is total plays. Now, this number is going to be heavily skewed because it is total plays on all platforms that they distribute to, but it has a total plays of 14,011. You know, so somebody out there likes it. Then we're going to get into our Twitch, which we really kind of just started. Now, the first thing to notice about the Twitch is that I did not make a new Twitch account. I just kind of rebranded the one that I've been using for years. So I didn't necessarily have to build from the ground up. People recognize my name on there. I will say the reaction to it has been trending positive, but some of the requirements to reach affiliate are going to be difficult for the setup we have right now. Two of the requirements are to stream 8 hours per month and to stream 7 days per month. My issue with that is I'm streaming Commander games every other Friday, which means to even do that, I would have to stream Commander games every Friday, essentially. And then another day on top of that. And I do have plans to possibly do that eventually. It's just right now, life is hectic, and chaos does not allow me to do all the things that I wish I could do. Now, I do have to get to 50 followers before I can reach affiliate, and I'm currently at 26, so that's been going pretty good. And I have to average 3 concurrent viewers for like the month, and my average so far has been 5.7, anywhere between like 2 and 3 to, I think we've had a few as high as 10. So again, nothing terribly outrageous, but, you know, reaching affiliate on Twitch could help bring in more income from the podcast that I could then put into making the podcast better. Like, well, next I'm going to be talking about Patreon, and I've just put some of my Patreon money into getting a better microphone for my co-host for the stream. So why don't we get into Patreon now? So on Patreon, I have 2 active patrons. I have 2 former patrons that had to dip out because their financial situations changed, and believe me, I understand that. Now, I make a total of $36 a month through Patreon. That gets set aside, and then if I need to do something for the podcast, that's what gets used. So eventually, that's going to be what I use to upgrade the computer, my microphone, anything along those lines. And I do have things in store for the Patreon. I just started looking into getting some stickers made with my logo. I'm going to work on commissioning some new art that I can then put on to more playmats and stickers. I do have some playmats that I've made that I'm going to be, well, giving a few out. And eventually I would like to get more so I can have them on hand for when, Magic Fests come back. I can just walk around with a stack of 10 of them, and, the first 10 people that recognize me get a playmat. Like, I have big plans for the future. It's just a matter of getting the financial side of it situated now, if that makes any sense. But yeah, that's kind of a peek into what Andy's been dealing with on the backside of this. And again, so far it's trended positive for, a nerd just sitting at his desk and recording whatever comes into his head. Yeah, I don't see me quitting anytime soon, and even if I don't build the best community through the podcast, I know that I'm in a few other communities that are great and are willing to help support me. And what more can a guy ask for than having good friends, especially in today's environment? But yeah, I'm going to kick this to my mid-roll where you get to hear about my Patreon again. And I'll be back after that. Hey, I just want to take a minute to tell you about my Patreon. I know times are hard for everybody, and I know it isn't easy to shuffle around bills and stuff. Believe me, I know that. But if you would like to help support the podcast and me, you can find the links to my Patreon in my link tree, which is always put into the description of either the video or the audio, wherever you're listening to it. It would really mean the world to me. Honestly, I'm just struggling to make ends meet most weeks. But that's it. That's all. If you want to help, the links will be where you can find them. And we're back. Now, it would not be prudent of me to not talk about some of our Streets of New Capenna spoilers that have come out. Now, I do want to preface this with everything here is my opinion. Very much so, like this entire podcast. Particularly when it comes to a couple of the cards that we're going to mention here. But we're going to start with Rafine Scheming Seer. As a 1/4 Sphinx Demon for Esper colors, which is white, blue, black. It has flying in Ward 1, and whenever you attack, target attacking creature connives X, where X is the number of attacking creatures. Draw X cards, discard X cards, and then you put a +1/+1 counter on that creature for each non-land card discarded this way. Interesting, taking Esper out of, like, the control path and out of, like, artifacts. I definitely see this being more of, like, a token build with, the, like, Labman, Wheel Jace kind of win conditions. Next, we have what I think is going to be a problem, and that is Jetmir, Nexus of Revels. It is a 5/4 cat demon for 1, a red, a green, and a white. Creatures you control get +1/+0 and have vigilance as long as you control 3 or more creatures. Creatures you control get +1/+0 and have trample as long as you control 6 or more creatures. And creatures you control get +1/+0 and have double strike as long as you control 9 or more creatures. Now, I think the main issue with this is this one costing 4 mana. Which I'll kind of explain why once we get to the next one. But I just think 4 mana 5/4 that's going to scale with the number of creatures you have. Like, say you're playing a curve out deck and you play something on 1, 2, 3, and then him. You immediately have a board with vigilance. Say you're running any of the things that make multiple tokens, it can just immediately be out of hand. And I think the best way I've heard this described is it's essentially a mini Craterhoof Behemoth in the command zone. Yeah, so I'm just not that big of a fan. But now let's get to the one that well, honestly, I just think it's kill on sight. Lord Xander the Collector. 4 blue, black, red for a 6/6 Vampire Demon Noble. When he enters the battlefield, target opponent discards half the cards in their hand, rounded down. When he attacks, defending player mills half their library, rounded down. And when he dies, target opponent sacrifices half of the non-land permanents they control, rounded down. Now, I hear people saying, oh, it's fine, it costs 7. Yeah, except how often does it actually cost 7? Just hear me out with this theoretical. Blue has ways of making extra mana. Red is one of the primary colors that makes treasures, and black is known for its method of ramping. So I can see the correct build of this being able to drop Xander on turn 4. And that's scary. So far, the only person I know that's talked about building it is Alex Kessler from the Eminem podcast. And I know he says he wants to build it like a political deck. I will reserve judgment until I see a deck with it, but I know the people in my meta are just going to break this in half. Because there's one other problem with it being in blue. Clones. And I know you have to be a real sadistic person to see this and think clones, but that's just how the people in my meta think. And so I can tell you, I'm going to hate this. Like, at least with Jetmir, I would be willing to build it and play it a couple of times before I decide this is not for me. And I don't know, maybe Jetmir finds better use in the 99 than in the command zone. And maybe Xander finds better use in the 99 than in the command zone. I am just overall not a fan. But I'm not gonna come out and say immediately that it needs to be banned because, well, I don't think it does. I think people at Commander games will self-regulate once they see what this does the first time. But after that, we're going to move into the new charms, which have the new faction names that I will never be able to keep straight. And we're going to start with Obscura Charm, which is white, a blue, and a black for an instant. It says choose one. Return target multicolored permanent card with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. Counter target instant or sorcery spell. Destroy target creature or planeswalker with mana value 3 or less. You know, just some good old Esper stuff. Next we have the Maestro's Charm. It's a blue, a black, and a red. Instant. Choose one. Look at the top 5 cards of your library. Put one of those cards into your hand and the rest into your graveyard. Each opponent loses 3 life and you gain 3 life. Or Maestro Charm deals 5 damage to target creature or planeswalker. Alright, so yeah, good old Grixis stuff. Next we have the Capenna Charm, which is a red, a green, and a white. Instant. Choose one. Capenna Charm deals damage equal to the number of creatures you control to target creature or planeswalker. Creatures you control get +1/+1 and trample till end of turn. Or create 2 1/1 green white citizen creature tokens. Good old Naya stuff. Direct damage to creatures. Pump and trample. Token creation. And we don't have a charm for the Bant colors yet, but we did, with the initial look at the set, get Broker's Ascendancy, which is a green, a white, and a blue for an enchantment. At the beginning of your end step, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control and a loyalty counter on each planeswalker you control. Oh boy, Atraxa just got even better. Yeah. Again, it just, I don't know, it's very Bant. Now, as part of the original look at the set that we got with Broker's Ascendancy, they confirmed the return of Triomes. Spara's headquarters is the Forest Plains Island. Enters tapped, has cycling 3. Jetmir's Garden is the Mountain Forest Plains. Same thing, enters tapped, cycling 3. Zatora's Proving Grounds is a Swamp Mountain Forest. Enters tapped, cycling 3. Xander's Lounge is an Island Swamp Mountain. Enters tapped, cycling 3. And Rafane's Tower is Plains Island Swamp for a land that enters the battlefield tapped and has cycling 3. Now, they also showed some of the different artwork that's going to be featured. It's very cool. It's very, like, Art Deco. Yeah, that's about where we're sitting so far with the what's been previewed so far. Honestly, I'm going to reserve judgment on the set as a whole until I see more of it. And yeah, that's kind of it. So again, if you enjoyed what you were listening to, hit the like button, maybe hit the share button. And if you really enjoyed it, well, my Patreon is there for anybody that's willing to throw me a couple bucks. Thank you, and I will see you next time. Thank you for listening. All of my links can be found in my link tree in the description below. I would like to thank Ian Foss and Cody Mulpey of the band The Crypt for allowing me to use music for my opening and ending, along with Nate and Erica Jacobs for making my original logo. And I would also like to thank Christina McNichol for creating my new logo. And I'll see you next time.